Okay, I'm gonna start. Yeah, so the work so far has been incredible. I mean, some of it has been not hasn't all come in, but everyone who has turned something in, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that that's like the first thing you've done in Photoshop. It's pretty incredible. Week one it was literally just like, let's learn this new thing. This is completely different. How do we do this thing? You know, what is Photoshop about? And then week two, so we're kind of dipping our toes in the water. Week two, it's going to be a little bit more of a head-on dive. Like you've tested the water out and you're going to dive in. Don't worry, because it's like a lot of these things we're teaching in week two are somewhat advanced concepts, but you do not have to use all of them in your work. Like I'm going to teach you things that you're going to be like, this is crazy. This is infinitely possible. I could do a lot with this, but it's not required, right? It's not something that you like have to do. Like we're going to talk about filters, and filters you can go nuts with. It's not like crucial to your creative process. We are going to be starting to look at type. So that's super exciting because Photoshop is a beast at typography. It's a great tool. It's even better in the other programs, honestly. Like Illustrator has an even better type interface, but Photoshop's kind of the basics, teaches the basics of type, which I'm excited to. I'm excited to see how people do with that. So hi Taylor, welcome. Hey. Assignment 2 is going to be about your brand. So this is really where you're going to take the tools that you've learned so far and you're going to start getting more clarity around what it is that you want to create for your company, for your small business, or just for whatever. It could literally be anything. If you just want to design a t-shirt to wear, that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be for your brand, but you have that option. So I made some suggestions for the assignment for this week. But you can also pitch your idea, and I mentioned that last week. So the ideas I came up with, because these are a little bit simpler than what your final project will be, is you could do an album cover, or you could do a t-shirt. So you could do a t-shirt design, which could be very simple, or you could do a poster. And a poster could involve text because we are going to be starting to get into text in this week. I would wait a little bit. Like, don't go crazy and just say, I want to do a typography, super new age design with all this different fonts and stuff, because we're going to be getting more into type in the third week. So it's good to start thinking about it, but you don't need to like master typography in this week. It's like going to be a very long road for that one. I'm not anywhere near a master at typography. So yeah. And then also we're going to introduce some new tools. We're going to talk about filters, the pen tool, which is amazingly powerful in Photoshop, and then how to export your work. So actually how to go through and export your work efficiently so you have like different versions for different platforms. That makes sense so far? Cool. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's also a creativity exercise that I kind of designed. It's based around some somatic therapy work that I do, but it's very simple, and it also involves free writing and kind of like I think it should take less than 2 hours ideally. It's basically just boost and stimulate your ideas and just kind of if you're in a rut and you're like, I have no idea what to do, I'm overwhelmed, it's actually a way to kind of clear the air, and it involves free writing, like I said, and really tuning into the body. And I think I've never honestly, like, I designed it and I've only used it one time, but I think it's going to be really cool for those of you who feel the call to try it out. So let's see. Oh yeah. We're going to be covering effects tools too. So we're going to be going over some effects tools like the blur and the sharpen tool, which is really cool. And then another one, the custom shape tool, which is pretty amazing. It's pretty badass. Like you can import any shape and basically just scale it to any size, and you can put in all sorts of cool stuff in your designs like that. And it's vector, which we'll talk about a little bit in this week. And essentially baseline vector, what vector means is it's, instead of pixels, like some of you might have noticed when you zoom in your image, If you go really, really close, you'll start to see actual dots. You'll start to see like squares that make up the image. So those are pixels. So Photoshop it's called like it uses lossy compression, meaning even if you're using typography and you're using a font, if you zoom in really, really close, you'll see the little jagged edges of the font. Now, vector, which involves a whole nother series of stuff. Anyway, it's very cool in that it uses math to actually keep it smooth so that your edges and your lines are always going to be crisp. You could zoom in 1,000,000,000% and it's never going to reduce in quality ever. And that's where like type gets really interesting, because you can scale type like 1,000,000% and see like you see it sometimes in design where there's like a B and it takes up like most of the page, like magazines have it sometimes. And that's using a vector type. And vector is just another way of saying it's a mathematical algorithm that keeps the lines clean. Illustrator is all vector. It's a vector-based illustration program. So Photoshop is really great for like traditional artists. It's more for like painters and people who love to like play around with photographs and effects and kind of merge the two. So it's great for illustrators. It's great for digital artists and designers. Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, is specifically for layout, design, typography, and logos and stuff like that. And I actually wish we had more time, because I designed originally this course was going to be 8 weeks and I was going to take you through Illustrator and InDesign, and it kind of got cut, which is fine. And I'm hoping next year I'll teach an InDesign or Illustrator course, because that would be so much fun. We can get into all kinds of cool stuff. Welcome, Ty. Hey, I know your name's not Nicole. My brain went zzz for a second. Okay, so now that I think most people are here that are probably going to be on tonight, I want to go over a few logistics. So whenever you guys are saving your project files, and then I want to hear from you. I'm talking a lot. But like when you're saving your project files, make sure to put your name in the actual Photoshop file, because a lot of people are, like writing like week 1 or assignment 1, and I'll save it and then I'll be like, whose is that? Like week 1 is who? Like I'll have, it's a lot more, it takes the pressure off me if you can just put your name in the actual file. So I really appreciate that. Let's communicate only through Canvas if we can. This is sort of something, I don't really know why, but they've asked me to do this multiple times at MIU. I think it's a logistical thing. I think it's actually a legal thing, but I do not understand it. They just really emphasize that we communicate only through Canvas and not through the email platform. So if you need help with that, let me know. Oh yeah. So in the very first discussion, it wasn't complete. I reread it, and the grading protocol wasn't super, super clear. Like it did say to comment on other people's work, but that was kind of at the very end of the second bullet point, and some people didn't get that. So I just want to make sure that the grading is clear. So like for discussions, part of the grade is actually to comment and to engage with other people's work. A lot of you did that. There's a few people who didn't catch that point, and I was like, oh man, I can't give you full credit because that was part of the grade. I really want to, because you wrote really good stuff. But just so you know, that's kind of the deal. It's like part of it is engagement, and this is important for online classes, is that we need to engage with each other. So okay. So question, I'm sure maybe some of you have had this question and you've been reaching out, which is great. But like, is late work a thing? Is late work going to be accepted? Yes, it will be accepted. But I'm going to deduct like some points, like 0.5, accumulatively. So just like if you can turn it in within 24, 48 hours of the deadline, you're going to be fine. Especially if it's Monday, the same day, I will not reduce the grade based on lateness at all. Right? But if it's like Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be like, okay, I gotta consider that, because it's not fair to everybody if I just, give you the exact same grade and you kind of like took 3 days more to work on it. And I know the pace is very fast. I know we're like just plowing through it, and thank you for keeping up and being patient with that. It's really good. So what else? Yeah, so just submit your work when you can. I know some of you has specific circumstances, but just try to get it in as soon as you can. Does anyone have like a breakthrough moment that they want to share? Like you were using a tool and you're just like, I can't figure this out, and then you just like you did something and it was like, wow. Taylor, you mind sharing?
Yeah, there was one, but there we go. Okay, that was weird. There was one, but it wasn't with the tools that we learned in this week. I had like this picture of like all black with white-ish rain, and like some of the rain drops were like grays, and so it wasn't just like a select the color to like get it out. And then I looked up a tutorial on how to like get rid of the background of an image, and they had this magic wand tool thing. And so I ended up using the magic wand tool, but like limiting its like oh like limiting its grasp, so it did still include like the grays, the whites and stuff, so like it still like looked almost more like static than it looked like rain. That was just kind of like, oh neat, because I've never really used Photoshop before last week. So that was pretty
Mhm.
dope. I dig the magic wand a lot.
Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
powerful. You check out the in the very top. Thank you, that was awesome. In the very top, when you choose your tool, there's like these little menu options for every tool. So you can get really clever with Photoshop. Like you can basically solve a problem 5 or 6 different ways. It's kind of insane. So to even be teaching you these tools, it's like sometimes I'm like, should I show them this way or this way? Because it's completely different, and some people will like it like that. Some people will like it the other way. For example, the magic wand has like this setting for tolerance, right? Did you play with that? Yeah, that's crazy. So like you can have it select a really small range of colored pixels, and then you can have it select like your whole image. So you can mess with that. The tolerance is a really cool thing. Thank you. That was really good. Um, yeah. Does anyone else want to chime in, like any, or even frustrations, like things that you're just like, I don't even know, this thing sucks, this tool, I don't know what to do. Like I'm happy to like lean into that as well. And how's the pace so far of the course? Yeah, Taylor, yes, again.
Oh man, like how do you I was so not dumb, but like unaware of how I even created a space to then put things in, because what I originally did was I just like I had the program on my desktop and I would drop an image in. This is how new to Photoshop I am. And then it was like it would just bring up the image, and then I would look and it wasn't 300 ppi. It wouldn't be that file size. And so it would be like, okay, I can't have that. And so that was the frustration I had, was literally just getting a blank white thing on Photoshop. So, but it worked. It ended up working. I'll be quiet now.
Would you? No, that's perfect. That's perfect example. I love it. It's a weird thing. It's like there's a lot of ways to do it. Photoshop is it's just like a weird magical box of crazy tricks that you can make beautiful art in, right? Like you can literally drag an image off of your desktop, and if you have the Photoshop window, you can just drag it in, and it will be like, okay, here's the image. Or you can do file import, or open, or you can create a new document and set all the presets. This is kind of what I do, because a lot of times you'll take an image from online, and it will be like you said, it will be like 72 pixels per inch. I always want to say DPI, but PPI. And it's like, what? That's very small resolution. That's terrible. And so immediately you kind of have to change it around and be like, okay, well, it needs to be 300 minimum. And I would actually say, for those of you who are doing photographs, like if you're using a photograph and it's a big photograph, set it to 4 or 450, honestly. Because if you ever want to print, if you do want to do prints, it needs to be 400, like pretty much, or it's going to start looking a little bit janky around the edges. Um, yes, these are good questions, and I like bring them on anything, please, because it's really fun, and I enjoy the engagement process with you guys, and solving problems. I would like to say 2 points. So the thing is, we're gonna get more into type and typography. I don't want you guys to go nuts with fonts. Fonts are an endless sea of chaos. There is in the third week there's like a video on fonts, and one of the guys who I really respect and admire, Chris Doe, who I think you've already seen maybe a video from the future yet, maybe, or you will next week. He runs this branding design company called The Future, which is also like an agency for getting people to make a living off their creativity. His whole goal is 1 billion people making a living off their creativity. And it's The Future. I'll type it in the chat. It's The Future spelt with an R. So there's no E on the end. And they've created tens of thousands of hours of free video content. So he talks about fonts, and he's like, you can use any font you want as long as it's these. He lists like 25. And it's hilarious because honestly, the font situation is you could just go down this endless rabbit hole and you still wouldn't exactly find what you're looking for. And at the end of the day, it's really about clarity, and it's really just about being succinct. And it's like you could write the word dog with all these different cool furry fonts, or maybe it looks like your dog and it's beautiful, but like at the end of the day, someone's just going to remember that the word was placed in a particular way, or was designed in a certain way according to the background and the layout and the color, more than what the font was. The font is kind of almost like secondary, I would say. And I know it's kind of weird to say, but like there's so many bad fonts out there. So I just don't want you to go too far in that direction, okay? And then the other thing is everyone's doing really, really solid work for their first project. It's insane. Like I don't know how good and how proud you guys can be of yourselves, but I'm very proud and I'm stoked that you're on this track already. And yeah, so we're going to have fun. This second week is going to be pretty deep. We're going to go deep, actually, into Photoshop. Yeah, any questions at this point? Or do you have anything you'd like to like run by me if you have an idea for a project that isn't in there? Or I know you haven't even really looked at week 2. We could even take a look at week 2 right now together. I think that might be a good thing. Let's do that. And let me know if you do have questions, because we can always jump in. All right, here we go. Share. All right, cool. So just like before, week 2, we've got the intro, okay? And then the assignment intro right next to it. All right, so the introduction is just kind of actually, I'll show you guys. It's pretty much just a way to get everyone jumping back into discussion mode. And it's kind of, these are prompts, so you do not have to just like answer these verbatim and then that's it. Like feel free to talk about anything that's been going on for you, or collaborating, communicating with each other. Some people have been like, oh my God, you're in this course too. This is cool. Like I love seeing you guys, and MIU is amazing. And that's really fun to read too. So whatever you want to share. So these are just prompts. Share kind of what you learned from last week, something you're excited about to explore in week 2, something you might be having challenges with, and something you are better at than you thought you were. So like, there's a lot of room for participating in those. You do not have to answer like every single one of these. Just like pick 1 or 2 or come up with your own and just free, just go for it. So that's the intro discussion. So I just want to briefly show you guys the tools, Photoshop tools, because there's some crazy ones. This covers the blur, smudge, and sharpen tool. These are all effects tools. They're not essential to Photoshop. You kind of learned the essentials in the first week, like the bare bones. Now these are a little bit more add-ons. And then the pen tool and paths. This is probably one of my most favorite things about Photoshop. It's even better in Illustrator, honestly, because it uses vector. But this is a really cool way to get shapes and create selections in a way that's almost using vector technology. Photoshop can never actually use vector technology just because that's not the way it's built, but you get darn close. So that's pretty sweet. And then custom shapes, and we'll cover, you guys can watch that, and the type tool. So that's going to be super a lot, and you're going to have a lot of fun learning certain things. Again, it's like if you just use the blur tool and the type tool, you're fine. But if you want to play around and you want to like mix and match these tools and try to implement them into your workflow, that's also great. So that's the tools for the week. Now we're also going to be looking at filters and smart filters, which some of you may have already played with. But essentially, actually, you know what? I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to open Photoshop. Let's see how we can do this. Do you see Photoshop right now? Good. Because I've got somebody else's work up. Don't want to embarrass them, even though their work is amazing. Okay, let's start a new document. Let's share screen. I just want to show you guys kind of, let's go through default size. You can see it already sets it at 300 ppi, which is great. So those of you who are interested, there's all these crazy presets, you know, art and illustration. It gives you these different presets, which are pretty good, honestly. You can see 2000 by 2000 pixels, so that automatically kind of works for the class. And you can always, so let's hit create, right? You can always change that, right? You can always change the canvas size just by going to canvas size and changing the pixels. I'll just go over a few little things if you don't mind, because we're here and I would love to share some kind of secret tips. So for example, let's say you want to change the canvas size and it's like way too small. Like if you go to image size, it'll show the inches and the resolution. 300 is fine. Let's just say I wanted to go up. Well, look what happens when I go up. The file size increases quite a bit, right? So for some of you,
I don't see Photoshop anymore. I'm so sorry.
you don't see Photoshop anymore?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, you guys aren't seeing it? Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm like recording this, so I have it for this week, and I'm like, it's gone.
My goodness. Well, thank you for telling me, because
I'm more visual myself.
I didn't know. I thought I was sharing. Can you see this? Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so now we've got the program. What I did is I went to image, and right here, these two options, right? Image size is kind of an overview. And I don't want to overwhelm you guys too much in this video, in this webinar, but I think this is useful just to recap, because you need to like do this a bunch of times before it just becomes muscle memory. And so we've got the image size. You can see right here is 11 megabytes. That's decent. As soon as I start adding stuff to basically to our document, it's going to get bigger and bigger. So one thing to recognize is, how big do we want this? Do we want to print this? Is this going to be on a t-shirt? Is this a business card? These are all things we need to think about kind of before we actually start. And so one way to do this, the sort of awesome, user-friendly way would be to just open this up. And when you do create new, see I clicked on this home icon, which is what you first see when you open Photoshop. And create new gives you actually some pretty nice little templates here, right? You got print, you got photo, art and illustration. So for example, photo 3 by 2 inches. This is actually the size of most business cards. So that's a great way to do it. If you want to just do a business card, you can just use that template. I just did a 2000 by 2000 pixel grid. That's what I selected last time, just because it kind of fits the parameters of what we might be doing. And I just hit create. You can see all this here is preset to pretty much exactly the way we've been working. 300 dpi, it's at least 1000 pixels wide, right? It's 2000 by 2000 is fine. RGB color. Now, what are these other things, right? I mean, CMYK, does anyone know what that means? It's cyan, magenta, yellow, black. These are the primary colors for print. So if you are doing a print project, it's actually slightly different. And when you convert from RGB to CMYK, it will change your colors. So that's something to know. But RGB is like very standard. It's just widely recognized as the sort of the baseline for all color documents. Red, green, blue, RGB. Grayscale and bitmap. You would not mess with bitmap at all in this class. Bitmap is like a very, very low resolution compressed black and white file. It's great for web. It's great for like GIFs and stuff, but you wouldn't really use it in this class. Grayscale, it's kind of what it sounds. Thousands and thousands of grays, right? And it's beautiful when you use black and white photography because it just keeps it in that range. And lab color, I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what that is. I've never even used it. All right, cool. So you can change, this is pretty amazing that Photoshop gives you all these options right out the gate. You can even change the color of your background right away, right? So you can customize it. You can say, well, this is kind of boring to just have it plain white. Let's make it like a nice, rich, I don't know what color that is, coffee or something. And then you just hit OK, and it'll create that image. And so this is actually what I use for my illustration. I use like a nice off tone color, like a mid-tone color. Like, because when you're drawing, you want to get, I'm just throwing this out, but you want to get the darks and the lights. You want to get the highest highs and the darkest darks to show up. So if you had a white background, they wouldn't show up, right? You'd only be able to create like black on white, and then you'd have to color it. So this is actually a nicer, it's also easier on the eyes. It's just a nicer way to kind of start. Now, obviously, if you're doing a photograph, you would just, I'll show you, there's different ways to do this. Let's do it. File. Okay, so you can import. You can do it this way. Images from device. That's fine. Or if you open it, like Taylor was saying, what it's going to do is it's actually just going to open, and I'll just use this image that you guys have probably seen a lot. Just kind of my crazy, I don't even know what it is, some design. So when you open it, it opens a new tab, right? And you see these tabs at the top of the screen. I haven't named these yet. They're just called Untitled. And then it opened it in a new tab. So you can actually have multiple working files in Photoshop. This is really crazy, but like, let's just say you wanted to import this image into this image. How would you do that? Well, since this one has all these layers, it's a little tricky because you wouldn't want to just like copy all these layers and move it over, right? But what you could do is, you can move this tab over. Oops, I'm just having trouble with the zoom thing because I'm seeing people and I'm trying to do this. There we go. All right, and then we got both images side by side, right? So you can kind of maneuver Photoshop in whatever way you want. So you could have the, oops, yeah, it does that. Shoot, where'd it go? Okay, now window is where all of your current open files are, right? So you go to window, you go all the way down, you can see your working files. And anytime you move an image over and it locks, like it turns blue like that, like you get that little blue thing, it means it's gonna lock it in, and I don't want that. I just wanna show you side by side, these two images side by side like that, right? So let's just say this image, let's say I wanted to copy this photograph. This is a photograph, and I wanted to paste it in here. I could just copy from this side, click over here, hit paste. Now you can see the size is gonna paste as well, right? All right, so I just wanted to go through that. This is, I'm moving a little quickly here because I just kind of wanted to, I'm gonna redock this, so drag it up and let it go, and it's gonna redock. All right, does anyone else have a specific question, like about something that they're having trouble with, either navigational issue or like a tool that they wanna, some clarity around? Yes, Ty.
So on my week 1 project, I was having issues with like manipulating certain images because it would say that this image is not editable. And after looking it up, I found that I had to rasterize the image, and I just wanted some insight on like, what does that mean? Like, does that
Totally.
Is there another way around it, or was there something that I should have done when I uploaded my photos?
That's great. No, yeah, great question. Actually, let's just do that. Like, let's just, for the heck of it, maybe we could even, like, let's just do that. Let's just bring in an image, right? And so, some of you guys might like this. This is like a Vada Pitta chart that I did a while ago, just for fun. So, okay, so right now I brought that image in, right? And let's see, where did it go? It's under assets. It's at the bottom probably. There it is. Yeah, so when I want to edit this image, it is going to give me that sort of thing. It's like, well, let's just say, for example, I want to edit the levels. And this is like a basic Photoshop feature that photographers use right away. It will allow me to edit it. So this is actually changing the darks. This is the darks, this is the lights, and this is the mids. So I'm actually making it brighter, and I'm gonna make it more just like rich. And anytime you're making adjustments, there's a preview box which will show you live like what the updates that you're doing are, which is amazing. And you hit OK. So what you're saying is like if I wanted to edit this, basically it says it's rasterized image, right? It's a photograph. It's saying basically what that means is, okay, so it's like it's trying to protect that file from you editing too much to where it's no longer like it's trying to basically protect the integrity of that file. So when you rasterize it, what it's doing is it's flattening out the information of the image into a way that Photoshop understands it. This is kind of the simplest way I could think of it. And it flattens it out into Photoshop so that you can then edit it. Now, it's good, but there's going to be some features about that photograph that will not be retained. Some of that information will not be retained. Meaning, let's say you took type, right? And let's say you actually wanted to change and edit one of the letters of your type. Like you typed in a word and you wanted to change that letter. You would actually have to rasterize it to be able to go inside of that type and edit it. It flattens it into an image that Photoshop can then edit. And it's going to destroy, like it's going to just destroy the original image. Whatever you do to that image is now going to be like churned through the Photoshop process. So rasterizing is a way for it to kind of almost like protect its original state. And then when you rasterize it, you're putting it inside of Photoshop saying, I'm just going to go crazy and mess this thing and make it all sorts of different stuff, right? So yeah, you can rasterize your photographs for sure. What I would do is you know what I would do? I would create a folder and I would call these like originals or something, or organals, whatever. And then I would duplicate this image by, there's different ways to duplicate a layer. You can right click on it. You can go to duplicate, sure. Or you can drag it down to the plus button, which duplicates it as well. There's so many different ways to do these things. And then I would just move the one that you want to edit up and just have them, you know, have the originals so that you have a backup in case you just did something you didn't want to do and you couldn't undo. And then you just have, now you have this other version of it, right? Where it's like VPK chart, where now this is your editable version. And then you could actually right click and I think this is, yeah, rasterize. You could rasterize it and see, okay, see the difference there? This actually had, this right now, this has what's called a smart filter, meaning it's applying it on top of the image. It's not actually messing with the integrity of the original photograph. If I rasterize it, it's going to be forever locked into the Photoshop process. So it's actually, it's going to be like, okay, now what do you want to do with this thing? Now I can do anything to it. I could add a filter. I could do just, you know, I'll just show you one of these crazy filters. There's so many. I'm just turning it into water. I'm gonna hit OK. I'm liquidizing. It doesn't look that cool, but you can see when I zoom in, it just like liquefied it, right? Yeah. Anyway, great question. Great question.
Hey, thank you. That's a very that's a good tip moving forward. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome, for sure, for sure. Okay. Does anybody else have anything? That's okay if you don't. Cool. Well, so what I'd like to do is kind of for the next week, what I'd like to do is have you guys really be on call for check-ins because there are some things that are going to get a little complicated, like the exporting. When you get to the exporting portion of this week, you might have some questions. You know, I tried to answer as many as I could in a video and like a paragraph, but if you guys have questions, like please hit me up. The main thing to know about exporting is that the reason I have you exporting multiple versions of your original is so that they're going to go on different platforms, right? Oh, God, I forgot. So this week we're also going to be sharing you're just going to be starting to share your work. I want you to put one piece of content up on any social media or online gallery you choose. Now, it does not have to be public. I see some looks like, what? Like, are you serious? No, but you can hide it. You can make it private. Like if it's on, I suggested you use Behance because it's an incredible platform where there's like hundreds of thousands of designers on there and you can really see what's out there. You can put it up on this platform and then just make it private, and you don't have to share it with anybody. But Behance is the one I recommend because it's built in with Adobe. Like, you get it for free. Adobe bought it, and it's a phenomenal platform. You can even get jobs on there. Like, it's just like all kinds of cool stuff. And it's only for visual artists. So, but you can choose between that, Instagram, Facebook artist page, and then there's another one called Dribbble, which you'll see in how it's spelled. It's kind of weird. It's like 3 B's or something. So it's called Dribbble. And those are all design platforms that I would choose. I would choose one and just kind of hit that one, and just like, it's just to get you the experience of what it's like, putting your work out, quote unquote, and then just keeping the process going. Because that's actually really important to get. We had this conversation on Friday with a few people. The conversation of you as a creator and the creative process is going to be a continual thing, even beyond the point of creation. So you're going to create your piece of art, and then where does that conversation go? It goes to your viewership. It goes to the people who are actually watching you and caring about your work and following you, and that's actually, interestingly enough, how you get followers. I'll bet you anything, if you just if you get over the fear, if you have that, of putting your work out and the criticism and all that, and you get over that point and you just start engaging with people and you start having conversations with people. If you care about like building a following, that is literally the way to do it. That is the only way to do it, is to start building like actual relationships and building one-on-one connections. I mean, of course, there's other ways, like you can hack the algorithm. You can post once a day, twice a day. That takes a lot longer, but you can do it that way too. That's what I've been trying to figure out, is like, how do I beat this thing? How do I do this algorithm thing? But I've been working at it for 3 years, and it's like posting every day does not get you 10,000, 100,000 followers. It's really about this relationship. It's really about this communicating with the people that are caring about you and giving them some love back. So, any questions? Any thoughts? Are you all oversaturated? I know it's like the first week, and you have I don't even know what you guys have else going on. People have like work and school and babies, and man, God, I don't even know how you do it. And partners and all that. I'm very fortunate. I live in Iowa. There's so little to do here, like so little, especially now with the COVID thing, that I'm pretty free, honestly. So if you guys feel free to hit me up, I'm always happy to respond. Yes, Taylor.
I heard you say that we would need to post it on an artist page. Is it okay if we post it on our like personal Instagram, especially like if we're mainly an actor? Like, yes. That is our, okay.
100%. Especially if you're doing like a piece of branding content that's like, here's my business card. And then you put it on Instagram, people are going to be like, oh, wow, I know what to do now. I know where to find you. I know how to get in touch. I would not put your personal email though, unless you're like, I just think it's a little weird to put your like personal contact information out there on social media. You know what I mean?
That's what managers are for.
Yes.
No
yes.
Personal contact.
I've been trying to find an agent for 5 years. I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping this will be the year.
For what?
Oh,
for design?
Yeah, I do children's book. Right now I'm working on a book. This will be my 3rd book project. I finished 2, but this is the actual one I'm drawing every single page, where it's not just like words and then a picture and like little words and then a picture. This is like every page is like full-blown art. I designed the whole book, so we'll see. You never know. Yes, all the fingers crossed, definitely. Well, it's so much fun for me to join you guys on this journey, and I really feel like I'm learning a lot. This is my 3rd class teaching, I think, ever at MIU. So, you'll give me a mid-course review and a whatever review, and that's cool. But like, I'm just happy to be with you all and going through this journey. It's really fun for me. So thank you all. And yeah, you know where to find me. Just Canvas, and we'll be on Friday as well. And then Saturdays. Okay. One more thing. Saturday, we're going to have a really short TM checking. So 15, 20 minutes, we're going to have somebody come on. And I guess they're going to do a TM refresher. And so if for those of you who want that, it's optional. But for those of you who want to join, it'll be right at the beginning on Saturday. So 10 a.m. And then we'll just have normal independent meetings like that. I encourage you, if you haven't had one, it's really quite amazing, because I waited about 5 years before I got TM checked, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. No, I'm doing it. And then I got checked, and it was just like, I just got so much deeper, and all this fatigue and all this stuff started coming out, and it was amazing. So if you do feel at all kind of like, I don't know if I'm trying too hard or whatever, I encourage you to do that. So namaste, y'all. Good evening. Enjoy your whatever time of day it is, and we'll see you on the threads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.